Good morning, garden friends. We are in the greenhouse before it gets too hot. It's only 74 in here now, but it's going to get toasty in here today. Outside temperatures are supposed to be in the 90s, low 90s, but still the 90s. So I had a little project I was going to do, and I wanted to share it with you in case you have something similar. I had an aloe vera that I got from my mother, and it started to die. But when the pieces started to kind of look really fragile, or they were really yucky, some of them, and I knew I wasn't able to save it, I pulled them out, or they broke off, and I stuck them in a jar of water just to see. I didn't have time to pot them up at that moment. So you can also do this direct in soil, put them directly in soil and they will root up. But this one rooted in the water within a week. So let me see, here's another one in here. Let's see if this one's rooted yet. This one has not. Let me look at this. This one has not rooted, but it doesn't mean, oh yeah, there's a little root coming right there. So it's doing its thing too. So anyways, now that they have roots, I am going to pot them up, and I've got to get the soil mixture right. Also had it in here with a piece of basil. Look, that thing's full of roots too. That's one way you can get more basil, is to take cuttings from your plants and root them. Anyways, I am going to dump out the pot of soil that they were in. It was not well draining enough, and it became a clump. Sometimes if a potting soil that you have has peat moss in it, eventually that peat moss compresses, and it makes it form a block. So a hard block that makes it hydrophobic, meaning water will just go around it. It won't absorb in it. I, for many reasons, avoid potting soil with peat moss. That is so hard to find in the US, but you can find it, and or I have relied on making my own, because finding peat moss free compost or potting soil is very, very difficult. And peat moss is something that is not a resource that is renewable. It's not good for the environment for them to be harvesting it. It's a huge carbon sink, and no matter what anybody says, removing that from nature is not a good thing. But there's lots of alternatives to peat moss. So hopefully, potting soil manufacturers will start using something different. Anyways, okay, so I cleaned out this pot. It had something in the bottom that was kind of clayish. So whoever had potted this up had tried to make it well draining, but they didn't have enough sandy mix in here. Okay, this is my DIY potting soil. I get a compost from a local organic turkey farm. So it's well composted down. I mix in some coconut coya. Some people call it coya. It could be pronounced that way. I don't know. I say core. Or rice hulls and perlite. I don't have very much perlite in here. But for, also you could use sand. I should say for these, I'm going to use some sand. So I have my main mix here. I guess I'll get a little bit. And here's the horticultural sand that I like, but you could also use builder sand. And I have a bucket I got here of builder sand. This, you can buy big bags. I use this on my driveway in the winters for ice and my sidewalks. We don't use salt here. That's very not environmentally friendly. It is very bad. Okay, so I'm making quite a bit, or mixing quite a bit of sand in here. So hopefully it's not too noisy. I would say a third of it was sand. So here I'm mixing the sand. A third of it was sand. A third of it was kind of my mix. This was not very much perlite, not very much coconut coir. I could have added more, and I could add some more perlite in here to loosen it up. Now the perlite makes it stay really light. So if you need something heavier, like if you have a top heavy plant, sand will also do the job and make it better drainage. So to make sure I have good drainage, I'm going to get me some of my perlite. I will be very careful in dumping it so I don't get the dust. You can also dampen the perlite down, and then I will carefully mix it in. Now, ideally, you would scrub your pot up. But I'm not really worried about disease or bugs or anything because I haven't seen any. And my chicken has laid an egg for you. I'm surprised they're laying today. The bear got in again yesterday. I forgot to plug in my hot wire and he took advantage. He came at the right moment and all of that. Okay, so these are some grow bags I tried. They're like a mesh fabric. I didn't like them. Things didn't grow well in them. So instead I used them in the bottom of my containers to prevent the soil from going down through the hole. And so let's get us some of the soil in here. Now this one, since this was my mom's plant and my sister wants one, I'm going to give her this one. I have 3 starts here, and so I'll put 2 in this pot. I'll put this one in it, down in there. Now I'm just putting it in there and I'm going to bury it up to where this white part is. Not too deep, but that's where it was in the water and it's doing fine. I could be totally wrong, but I did this one. You see this one? I potted up a month or so ago and it's doing great. So I'm not worried about exactly how I'm planting it in here. Let me see, is that the one? No, that one didn't have the roots. Let me see if this other one had more roots. This one had a little root, and this one does not. So I think I'll wait before I plant them up in here, and we'll go with this one. And you know what? Maybe I'll go ahead and give her this one too. I'll just dig it out and put in this pot, and then when those root, I'll put them in this little pot for myself. I had this on my windowsill, and I put some little green onion ends in there. Oh, that's really putting down the roots already. Good job. See, look at that, has all those roots on it. So I'm going to put that in there. It won't hurt it to transplant it. And then I'm just going to put the soil in. Make this fast. Okay. Now, that is very free draining, and I will water this well and give it back to her. Give it back to my sister. I say back because I got it from her house because she inherited my mom's house. So I knew she wanted one back, and I've taken my sweet time in getting this. These leaves are looking a little wonky, so I'm going to put these in a sandwich baggie in my refrigerator to preserve the juice in it. And there we have potting up aloe vera plants. Now, if you get little, these will send out little pups, which are little other plants. This is big enough for it to go ahead and fill in, and that's what we want it to do. And when that happens, in the one I do for myself, I will share with you how you separate the pups and plant those up. But this is how you kind of save one that is kind of looking, and it was the soil had gotten yucky, and so we are going to revive this aloe vera for future use. Well, thank you for joining me on this little garden chore. It's already getting hot in here and steamy. So I'm going to put this where it will flourish, and then I will go on to the next garden chore. All right, I hope you join me in the next video.